What's up, you guys? Mighty Mike here, and today's Live at 5 is very special because you guys know I come on here and answer your questions live every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and just dive into the tips, tools, tactics that I use in my listing-based business and in my real estate investment journey with all the different things we have going on. So if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. But today's guest is going to blow your mind because he is not only a real estate investor, but he's also a top agent. He has sold over him and his team has sold over 200 million in real estate sales, and he's going to give us the tips, tools, and tactics. So don't go anywhere because we're going to dive right in. The big question is this: how do we as real estate investors find the deals that bring the greatest returns, allowing us to make the biggest impact for good in the world and live a mighty life? You are listening to the Mighty Real Estate Investor Podcast, and I'm your host, Mighty Mike.
Hi, guys. This is Vinnie Enriquez, and you are listening to the Mighty Real Estate Investor Podcast. Thank you.
Welcome, Vinnie.
Thank you for having me.
Great introduction, man. You're like a pro.
I've done a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, you would think that maybe you had your own show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Vinny's got a great show over there, the Growth Podcast. Let me throw that up here for you. Definitely, you guys are going to want to go check that out, especially if you want to make a difference. He's got a lot of really cool things going on over there. So you can go ahead and read that. But Vinny, why don't you just take a minute, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you got going on?
Yeah, so it's actually the road to growth. So yes, there's progress, there's growth in there. Don't worry about it. It happens. We're good. So
wait, what?
It's called the road to growth.
The road to growth. Okay.
Road to growth. Well, a little bit longer. It's a mouthful. It's not going to be sweet and clean like this right here. But yeah, so I have the podcast. It's all about mindset, overcoming adversity. That really came about. Been in the business for about 10 years. For the first 5 years, I was a solo agent, just doing my own thing. And then kind of over time, I was in Thailand, and I was dealing with stuff, and I with the time difference, you're like, I want to enjoy myself, but I'm dealing with files while I'm over there. And so okay, I have to leverage this out. So I started getting an admin, looking at, okay, well, I need to leverage my time now that I have an admin to take care of the files when I'm gone. And so really made an effort to build a team, and there's been some hiccups through that. And now currently have 2 agents on my team, 2 admin, and then I coach 12 agents.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I'll tell you, when I got started, Vinny, I joined a team because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I really thought that that's what I had to do in order to be successful. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. I did learn a lot of the shortcuts to get to like creating a CMA, or, the value of like pre-qualifying somebody instead of just going out and showing them a house. There's things that you learn, the Zillow call where you're like in the car and you're like, who am I meeting again? So it was good to kind of get on a team and learn those things, kind of fast tracking. So we're going to dive into a few different things, but you're obviously, a busy guy, and we want to extract as much knowledge as we can. So the first question I always ask my guests is like, what was that first deal? Because I remember my first deal, I was just clueless, and, I really like fell into it. And so what was your very first real estate, maybe listing or sale?
Man, my first deal. So I was in construction before I got into real estate. And so I was in the business for in construction about 6 years, I think. And so I came back from Afghanistan. I did a year in Afghanistan. I come back and I enjoyed myself for about a month, and I got into real estate. And I was told just basically get in front of people, do open houses, door knocking, that kind of thing. I think it was like almost my first or second open house I did, and I got a buyer lead. And from that buyer lead, I showed one property. Like, it was something, and we looked at the property. I got them to put an offer on the property, and it went smooth. And I was like, oh my gosh, real estate is so easy. Well, I definitely learned my lesson. That was not the case, that was an outlier. yeah,
That's funny.
it really changed kind of the way I looked at things, and yeah, that was
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny because, coming from the private investigation world, I do still think it's easy, but what happens is when you compare to other fields, right? Like try to flip $5,000 in hamburgers at McDonald's, it's going to be a long, So comparatively, it is easy, but yeah, I mean, I'm just like fascinated with real estate and all the different ways that you could go. Like, for example, when I went into the medical field and I was like to be a nurse, I started learning like anesthesiologists and nurse anesthetists, all these different things you could do. And I feel like it's the same thing for real estate. It's like, you got wholesale, you got, being an agent, you got commercial, this whole new world opened up of like, 5 or more units. And I'm just like fascinated. Every single person I interview has a different perspective, whether they're an agent or otherwise. And so that's definitely a first deal. So what is the biggest deal? You walk into the room and everybody's bragging and you're sitting there just kind of calmly, humbly listening. And you're like, all right, let me lay this one on them. Boom. What is that deal you're going to bring up?
I mean, it's not necessarily a monetary deal, but it's probably the one that I'm most proud of.
Okay.
It was an expired listing. So they had it on the market for 6 months. I was able to get the listing, talk the person into it. And the mom of the client that I was working with had cancer and she didn't have that long to live. And her basic whole goal was to basically move to a duplex from the single family. And they were on the market for 6 months, couldn't sell the property, didn't get a single offer. Was able to, because she had cancer, it was hard to get showings there. So I had 4 hours to show the property. We had massive amount of traction on that property. Was able to get one offer above list price. We didn't change the price of anything that they had on for 6 months. Was able to get one offer above list and was able to move them into, and basically do a contingent, move into the next property. The mother ended up passing away about 2 months after she moved into that property. But it was one of those things that it was like so gratifying that I was able to accomplish this person's like almost like dying wish a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't a monetary thing. It was just more something that like I always think about that moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, expired. So, I mean, that is crazy. So expireds are always interesting because they believe in agents because so they obviously listed it at some point. It then expired, and so some people think, well, they already believe in agents, so just reach out to them. And there's some truth to that but usually before it even expires or before they fire their agent, they already have another agent lined up. And so, have you found success with expireds?
It varies on the time that you do it. I mean, in the
Yeah.
current market that we sit now in San Diego, it's probably pretty hard not to sell one of your listings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's such low inventory. When the market's more balanced, right, it's gonna really have a different threshold of selling it to not selling it. Now there's a margins on how much you're gonna net on it, but
Mm,
you can still sell the property if you want to sell the property. But yeah, I think they're a great avenue because
yeah.
they've already put their hand in the air saying that they're willing to sell the property and pay a commission for the realtor. You just got to show them why you're better than the last person.
Mhm. Yeah, and confidence. I've noticed if there's one word I can use with expires is confidence. Of course, you're going to follow through and all that, but when you're talking to them, you get a lot of ho hummers that just call and ho hum around. You have to be confident in your ability and skill that you're going to close. And like one thing I like to do is when I get an expired listing appointment, I get my drone pilot, who's going to take the pictures to go to the appointment with me. Like we're not messing around. Like we show up and like, should we take photos over here? And the first time I did it, I was like pretty sure because I had built a pretty good relationship over the phone,
Mm.
and it was just and it worked out perfect. And ever since then, I'm like, I got to get enough rapport with them that I can bring my before I show up there. That when I do show up with a photographer, they're not surprised. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, he's gonna do the right thing,
I
and
mean,
that's worked really well.
if someone has a want, a need, right, to buy or sell, for the most part, they're not going to be angry about someone being aggressive, right?
Right.
Deep down,
Yeah.
if they really have a want to do something,
Yeah.
they're going to appreciate you being aggressive.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. It's not like, why do you want to sell my house so bad? I'm trying to sell my house. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
like if
Yeah.
you want something done, right, and
Yeah.
you go, man, this person's really aggressive. Okay, if they're gonna be the same level of aggressiveness on getting my listing, they're gonna do the
Yeah.
same level of getting it sold. That's what I want. Now, if the person doesn't really have a want or a need, or maybe they're kind of like gun shy about the whole thing, that's when you have to get back into that mindset and pull that want, that why back out, and
Yeah.
then they'll appreciate the aggressiveness.
I love that. Yeah. And the scripts, around that, you guys, we're coming out with all kinds of cool stuff here. School of Mighty. I started an online school basically to teach folks because a lot of people were saying, just giving the stuff away because a lot of people were just confused. Like, what do you mean? All you have to do is be their friend. And it's true. You just got to be there for them and follow up with them. And then for sale by owners, I think my keyword for them is consistency.
It's huge.
Follow up, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sale by owners, I mean, it hasn't been. I mean, I've dabbled in it, but I've talked to a lot of people that have had good success with it. But
Mhm.
it's definitely one of those things. Is being consistent with them. I mean, from people that have had success with it, they tell me it's about 7 to 8 weeks. Usually,
Yeah.
they start seeing that conversion.
Yeah.
But it's anything you do, just having systems.
Yeah, having an idea. Yeah, you're like, how many weeks has it been? 2, 3 weeks, and you're following up every Monday and Friday. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's a system behind it. And if you do it, they will be like, Mike, you're the only one that keeps calling me. What's the deal? Like, I just like you. I don't know what to tell you. I want to make sure you get this thing sold, and that just and what's crazy is like some people might hear me talk about the stuff on YouTube, and they're like, well, isn't it sneaky what you're doing? No, I'm being upfront about what I'm doing. Like, I want to build friendships. I want to, put them on my top 100 list and if they sell 3 or 4 houses with me, now they're investing in one of our multifamily deals, and like now they're building real wealth, and like we're helping each other. And one day when I'm out on a yacht with my friends, they'll be one of those people with me, right? Like that's the goal. So there's a lot of different things we could talk about, and obviously this is really good stuff because when someone first gets started and you don't have a lot of money, that's what you got to do. You got to pick up the phone and reach out. Do you agree, or is there a better way?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, for me, the best return on my time and my money has been, I mean, dialing for dollars. I mean, that's been the best
Yep.
return right there. I mean, the way I coach people and teach people is there's a skill set that's required, and it transitions from face to face to the phone to text message and email, right? You
Yeah.
have less things to basically hold yourself on, right? When you're face to face, people are less likely to say no to you. When you're on the phone, they're more than likely to say no to you. When it's through
Yeah.
text message or email, even more likely to say no to you, right? So it's really having that, just getting in front of people, having the conversations.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. I mean, door knocking. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you're bringing value to the conversation, and I mean, door knock your neighborhood, get in front of them, build that rapport like you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine calls it hand-to-hand combat. Like, you gotta really get out there. Of course, marketing is good and you can put it out there. And I call it casting your net, so when someone actually does look for you or does use one of the ways that you reached out to them, maybe it's mailing, maybe you texted them, maybe whatever, they can click on it and then learn more about you when they're ready, right? That's why bomb and a lot of these things are so effective, because it's hand-to-hand combat where they get to see you, where they can know, like, and trust you in a video. But then there's also all these ways they can look up and learn about you. They can click on a link, and then BombBomb actually tells you all this information. I don't use BombBomb anymore. I use CRM Grow, but it does essentially the same thing.
Mhm.
Tells me they watch 40 seconds of my 5-minute video, right? And so then you're able to actually reach out to them and be like, hey, so I saw that you saw the video. I wasn't sure if you actually watched it though. And I'm curious because if you watch it at least halfway through, you'll see where we just sold a house for $20,000 over asking just a couple weeks ago. And, it's been a few weeks. And so I'm just curious how things are going for you. That is just undeniable. Like you were saying, if someone's aggressive and they actually are effective and they can prove that, then it's an easy sale after that. So let's kind of transition because you got a lot. We're going to get into the tips, tools, and tactics here after a word from our sponsors. But first, I want to know, like, what are you most fired up about right now?
Opportunity. I mean, there's going to be, as the rates go up, there's going to be more flexibility from the sellers, not necessarily on price, but on the structure of
Yeah.
how offers are taken on. I mean, seller
Okay.
financing, right?
Okay.
So the person that can get creative is going to win out on deals.
So you thinking investments or for listings?
I think on both and any. I mean, it's if you have a buyer that's looking to buy, but I mean rates get up to 8% or something like that,
Yeah.
right? And they go
Yeah.
drastic. I mean, you find properties, find opportunities where the seller basically has a lot of it paid off, and you look at some seller financing. Look at some. I
Mm,
mean, right now it's pretty straightforward on the options, at least in our
mm.
market. Yet as interest rates go up, as it kind of cools down a tad bit, creativeness is going to win out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. On the real estate investment side, and there's so many crazy stories where like in 08, 09, people were buying duplexes for $3,000. And I was talking to a friend about that yesterday, and he's like, that's never going to happen again. And I was like, I mean, think about like Ohio, Detroit, some of these places where they're already run down selling for 25, 50 grand, like if the market goes down again, those are going to be the properties where they're just like, just please take it. Like, I'm tired of getting fined by the city for the grass and the, abatement issues or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, opportunity is big and there's a lot there. So how are you taking advantage of the opportunities for your team? Like, because you're leading this team, and as someone who has a team, I don't do like commission splits or anything because my team is kind of like nationwide, right, with EXP. But like how do you actually like lead that team and like understanding what these opportunities are? And the reason why I asked is just so you know, is like I feel like when I had a team and I was doing the splits and stuff, you got to like hold them by the hand. And at some point I was like, look, you eat what you kill in this business. Like if you're not going to pick up the phone or start door knocking or start doing open houses or whatever, you're not going to make any money. And I got frustrated because I was just like, I can't help you. You can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. So how do you make them drink?
I mean, finding systems. I mean, there was probably a couple years back where I spent a lot of handholding with basically agents that I brought on, and the
Mm,
return was really not there. And so, having systems in my day, having systems in my structure that keep them accountable, gives them a roadmap to success, and basically saves my time. So,
yeah.
doing a lot of videos, like you talked, bomb videos. I
Mm,
mean, I do a lot of videos for every kind of question they might have. If they have a question that I didn't answer in one of the videos, I make another video and send that out to everyone so they know. And so there's a question right there. Now, if there's a specific situation, we can dive into that. Yet, for the most part,
right.
there each situation is going to have some correlation to something that I've already put together.
I like that. So do you have like a training program for them where you're like, hey, you got to watch all these videos before you get out there and start selling? The thing about it is too, a lot of times, which makes a lot of sense for every team or brokerage to do this, is to have like a training program, because they always say it might be 90 days or, 6 months before you get your first deal. You can learn a lot in that time. If,
Oh, you can learn a lot. And the thing is most. I mean, there's a big a portion of teams out there, real estate teams, that are not profitable.
right.
Right? I
That's
mean,
true.
they're spending money, spending time on agents that maybe are not going to make it or don't have the hunger to make it. So the way I always tell people I coach and train is that this is a two-way street. You have to show me that you're putting the time in to allow me to put the
Yeah.
time into you.
There's so much truth to that. Like I've heard a couple times that people say like, "Oh, you're gonna have a team, so what are you gonna buy, Zillow leads? Like, what are you gonna do?" And I was just like, "Why would I do that? Like, you have an unlimited supply of sellers. They're just waiting for you to call them." And you know what's crazy? I think a lot of people they overestimate how hard it's gonna be. Like they think it's gonna be so hard to pick up the phone. But when you imagine an absentee owner, you know, they could have even inherited the house. They could have even never seen the house. You call them and say, "Hey, if you can get the right price for your home, would you consider selling?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, if it's the right price." Now you just got to do a CMA. And if they like the numbers, now you got a listing. And a lot of times for me is like, I never even had to do a listing appointment. I really do it out of obligation so that they don't have unrealistic expectations. So I guess that's kind of where we're going to dive into some of the tips, tools, and tactics here right after a word from our sponsors. You've just been like dropping some crazy value. We're having a great conversation here. So, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to find out right after our sponsors what Vinny's favorite book is. Mighty Nation, I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. I'm just breaking in really briefly to let you know about today's sponsor, Audible. They're offering to give my listeners 30-day free trial of their service. Audible has hundreds and hundreds of books. I have some of my favorite books listed up over here. You can go to mightyfreebook.com and get your 30-day free trial. You get a free book. And if after the 30 days are up, you decide you no longer want to be a part of it, you can actually cancel, no strings attached, and never have to pay anything and have a free, awesome book. Check out all these cool books over here. Go check out mightyfreebook.com. Let's dive back into the show. All right. I need to shorten that up a little bit. So welcome back, you guys. All right, Vinny, you ready to do some mighty flexing?
Let's do it.
All right, man. What's your favorite book?
You know what's funny is actually I downloaded Audible end of last year. And so now I go through I instead of reading, basically audiobooks.
Yeah.
And so there was 7 levels of communication has been huge. I've been trying to fix my systems and make the systems better for referrals. And man, there's a lot of knowledge that's dropped in that book.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a really good. That's probably one of the better ones, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Real Estate E-Myth, just because the idea of really reinforcing the idea of systems, but there's been multiple things in 7 levels of communication that have just popped up. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to plug KW, I think you're with those guys still, right?
Yeah.
I got a couple of their books around here. Like he's a legend, Gary Kelly. He for systems.
Yeah, for systems. I mean, yeah, no. So I just downloaded the Red Book. I've read it before, but now I'm just having it on Audible, and so that's going to the next one.
Yeah, you got to give credit where it's due. My experience, is not one that I'll talk about, but apparently it's unlike normal experiences with KW. So I have a lot of friends there. But yeah, the books were amazing, and they actually have one on real estate investing that I learned most of the real estate stuff when I first started about investing, and I didn't even know who he was or what the brokerage was when I first read it. So definitely systems there as well, like being able to find properties, putting systems in place, having a contractor. When you first get out there and you start looking for properties, I find properties every day. And now when you have wholesalers, you get 20, 30 properties off market sent to you every day. And you're like, I'm an agent, I could list them. So you're like waiting to see what happens with it. And then I'm an investor, I could buy them. But you don't have a contractor, you don't have hard money, you don't have any of these things that you need. So that book teaches you got to put your team together first, and then start looking for those opportunities. So let's dive into your tips, tools. That's a great book. That is a great recommendation. Definitely going to put that in the description below, mightyfreebook.com. If it's on Audible, sometimes I don't know if they're on Audible. That's the trouble.
Oh, it's on Audible. I just listened to it on there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, so what book would you recommend? What is your favorite tactic for finding deals?
If you're driving around the area and you see a lawn that's unkempt, door knock that house. If there's no one there, find the owner of the property and reach out to them. Usually the lawn is the first stage of the person being done with that property.
Yeah. Unless you go to New Mexico, because everything is dead. I have a house there, and that's how it is there. You go there and there's this cactus and what is it? Tumbleweeds everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The lawn, that's a good one. Driving for dollars. There's some really great apps. PropStream has a great app. Mm. I think there's some real estate ones too that you pay for with the MLS too, usually, that will tell you who the owner is from the property appraiser's website, while you're in the car, and then you could skip trace them, call them. Hey, if you get the right price for this home, would you consider selling? I'm out here in front of it. I'd love to, I'm interested. And you just know if the worst thing they could do is say no and maybe cuss at you a little bit, and you just move on to the next one.
Exactly.
That's great. Great tip. Driving for dollars is one, especially if you don't have a lot of money. You're on your way to the store, do some grocery shopping. You see it, just stop, and then boom. You can even. So I mentioned the apps. So a lot of people just go download an app and pay money for it. But if you're struggling, you got to be thrifty, write the address down, maybe take a picture of it. I used to use Google Keep when I first started. I take a picture and attach it in a Google Keep file, which is free, and then name the file, the Google Keep note the address.
Yeah.
So when I would go look them up, I can move these things around, which ones are an opportunity and which ones aren't, and that's all free.
Another nugget, I mean, for I guess more for realtors, is find a credit union by your house or wherever you live. Go in there, ask for the loan originator, and ask them where they send orphan buyers, and see if you can be that person that they send the orphan buyers to.
Okay, that's a good one. So what? So if they say, "Hey, this is who we send the orphan buyers to," then what do? You give them a call?
Well, no, if they're saying, okay, well, we have because some of these banks have companies or groups that they use where they get a couple different realtors and they get like a referral fee kind of thing. Other
Yeah.
ones, if they're smaller, like mom and pop banks, right? They might not have anyone that they actually send it to, right? Or they don't have someone dedicated. If they don't have someone dedicated and it's near your house, near where you work, you can go there every week, drop off donuts, butter up that
Yeah.
loan originator, because they're going to have walk-ins every once in a while, and now you're
Oh,
basically getting a steady stream of buyer leads.
that makes sense. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's good. And as a matter of fact, you get those kind of relationships, that might turn into other relationships like bank-owned property listings.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Because those guys all know each other usually.
Be that go-to
Very
guy.
cool.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I'm gonna do that right after the call. Folks in Orlando, you guys just imagine you didn't hear that last part. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So you're finding deals, you're going out there. So is there any software that you're using that makes your life easier? Like you would quit real estate if you did not have the software.
So I use BombBomb, but I also Follow Boss, and I
Oh yeah.
incorporate Follow Boss with Mojo.
Hmm.
And so for the leads that have put me by the wayside, or maybe aren't picking my phone calls as much,
Uh,
I automatically push them into Mojo, and then I dial through Mojo for basically quote unquote dead leads, and
mm,
then I mean I can pick them up. So it allows me to kind of call through a database of people that have been non-responsive for the last month, 2 months, whatever it might be,
yeah.
and then see who I can pick back up. So if I didn't have that, I actually had to call through each one. It'd be a painstaking process.
I don't think people truly realize the value of automated list creation. Follow up boss, you can create your own list in there like you did, like probably like you do. You create a list and then that list can be automated to just change inside of Mojo. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so powerful because it's like integrated and Follow Boss is so user friendly. What is the thing about the thing I don't like about Follow Boss, not to beat them up because I love that software. I
Yeah.
really do. But the integration for listings, I just need to have, I know it's the buyer side and we're kind of focused on the listing side, but you still need that, right? Like when you want to share a listing with somebody, you need to be able to take a link and throw it over. So Follow Bus guys, if you're listening, that's what we need. We need that integration so like we can give our buyers our listings.
Yeah, they're so Keller Williams, they built their own platform, and so it has the ability to do that. Yet it doesn't have the ability to do anything else. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, it'll be nice when I can find one system that encompasses everything.
Yeah.
We'll see when
They're
that.
out there, but they cost a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Like I did Chime for a while. Chime was good, and then it was like I think it was $1,200 a month or something like that to have a team. And then now KV Core with EXP, it does that as well, but the texting platform is a little antiquated. So it's like you can never truly get the perfect software. And if you decide you're gonna go out and invent it, it ain't gonna happen. You're gonna be missing one element for whatever reason.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's
It's crazy. So okay, yeah, good. Mojo combined with Follow Up Boss is amazing. Even Vulcan 7, but it's a little more pricey than actually Mojo's a triple line dialer. It's like 300, right?
yeah, I think it's pretty much the same.
They're pretty much the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so software, and then what's your favorite way to fund a deal? Like I know we're doing a lot of the mortgage stuff,
Yeah.
but for your real estate investment, maybe we could talk a little bit about that. You've recently dove into a real estate investment opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big thing for realtors. Sometimes it takes you a little bit of time, but when these opportunities come about, I think Gary Keller talks about it, right? Or I mean, a lot of people probably talk about it. It's going. You should look at each opportunity and go, is this good enough for me to take on? If not, then throw it out to a client. But I mean, that's how you're going to make the difference in your life, in your business, is looking at each opportunity and going, is this good enough for me? And if it's good enough for you, then find a way to get your foot in there. I mean, you can make arrangement with investors out there, and a lot of these investors, if the margins are there, they're going to want to work with you. If the margins are there, someone's going to want to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Like what you're saying, like what you're referring to is where he's saying, like, you know, at some point, if you're a good agent, you're going to see deals come across your desk where you're like, man, this guy's making a lot of money and I'm the one that brought that to him. Yeah. And here I am making pennies. I mean, we make pretty good money if we're doing it well, but even then comparatively, you know, some of the multifamily deals, you know, like I had a friend that sold one for 256 million. You know, he made 2 million, 2.5. He only had 1% commission. Imagine taking a 1% commission. You're like, I'll just take 1% and still make over $2 million on a commission.
Well, right? There was this one wholesaler that I knew. He got and this was a couple years back, but he got an opportunity from a realtor, off-market opportunity. He got it locked up. He wholesaled it out for 150,000 or roughly 150,000 in his pocket to an investor. So basically all he did was connecting the property. He didn't search for anything like that. Yep. He had the realtor give him the property and basically he gave it to an investor and walked away with basically $150,000 for basically doing nothing.
That's the best. Imagine being a realtor and knowing that. You're just like,
yeah, what just happened?
Oh, what just happened? I connected. So this is the thing. Like let's see, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, but like one of my businesses I had before was process serving. We still have it. I just don't work in it every day, where you would serve legal documents to people. Well, you know, they would call me from all over the country to serve in California, Northern California, up in Chico. And they just don't know anybody local. So because I know everybody local, I can charge $100 and then have someone local serve it for $50. So the relationship, what I learned back then was that relationship is worth $50. And over the course of a year, it could be worth 10,000, 30,000. So real estate's no different. You know, if you have a relationship with a group of investors, I get listings all the time because just today, someone was saying, well, my friend's an agent. I was going to go with him at 4%, you know, but I heard you had a big investment pool of investment buyers that pay cash. That's true. That's why I'm worth more than 4%. You know? But they always want to do that with you, especially the guys that have been doing it for a long time. They're just savvy investors and they want to get you, you know, down to the lowest price. But yeah, good stuff. A lot of great stuff. Funding a deal, getting into investments, take opportunities when they come by you, and good stuff. Okay, how about property management? Are you guys involved with that at all?
I don't do it. It becomes, I mean, from most people I've talked to that do it, the margins aren't really there unless you're doing, I mean, basically it seems like about 100 units or more, or roughly about 100 units. That's kind of been the margins where I've kind of heard that. But yeah, so for me, I'll help clients find a tenant, but yeah, hands off after that.
Yeah. All right. So I got a list of stuff here from Instagram. So I got them queued up here. So we'll kind of run through them here. I'll put them up on the screen and we'll just kind of blow through them. You give me your like 60 seconds on each of them and then we'll kind of wrap things up here. All right. So this one is a really good one. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but you know, you're an agent, you just started, team or solo. What's your take?
I think it matters on who that person is. Are you a self-starter? I mean, and what's the value that team's offering, right? I mean, some people need that support, yet if there's not value, I mean, when I first got in the business, I interviewed a couple teams and I didn't feel like the value was there for the return I was getting. And so I went solo. So it's really on you. If you're not a self-starter, if you need that hand-holding, if you need that help, then jump on a team.
Yeah. So just to kind of expound on that, like if you're a solo person and you've been doing this for 6 months and you feel like you're doing everything you're told and you're still not getting any success, maybe a team is right for you. Maybe taking a step in, you know, the struggle is obvious, right? Like you join a team, you know, whatever brokerage you're with usually will take 20, 30%, right? And then your team takes 50%. And then now you're down to no percent after taxes. So, you know, so it's like, but I will tell you in my experience, like I was mentioning earlier, is like, you get the ball rolling. You're like, okay, a transaction can happen, and it's not unheard of for me to make a little bit of money in this business.
Looking at it, if you think you can do 10 deals yourself, that team, if you're going to sign up with them, should be able to help you do 20 deals or more, right? Roughly, kind of mean. So you need to figure out what you can do on your own, and then go, okay, I feel I can do this on my own, but I can do this with a team.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just like the saying of 100% of nothing is still nothing. So it's like, if you're going to get some stuff done, then maybe just give it a try the first 6 months to a year and see what you can do. I think I will say though, it's really crazy that the idea that in real estate, if I didn't have other income, like, it did take me about 3 months before I got my first deal. Imagine living and having a family and trying to support a family for 3 months.
I would have some kind of, if you're getting real estate and you're going to do it full time, have some money put away.
Yeah.
Because anything you do today is probably not going to be in your pocketbooks at the earliest, probably 90 days.
It's funny you say that, because like I try to fund all of my real estate, like fund money, all of my real estate things, events that I try to do, I try to fund it completely with real estate sales. Like I don't want to take from any of my other businesses or savings. And there's a Bigger Pockets I was telling you about in San Diego in October. There's a NAR event. I started adding it up, and I'm like, man, there's about $30,000 in event fees here. I'm like, all right, let's get on it. Oh, so the point was, like, I need to sell 13, 14 deals this month. This month? Yeah, by the end of this month, in order to pay for those, because they're not going to close for 3 months, 2 or 3 months, right? So it's exactly what you're saying. You really are looking at, I think KW, when they did their trainings, they would always have the 90-day date in the background, like that's what we're thinking about right now, is that date. So good stuff. All right. So getting your first sale. We talked a little bit about your first sale, but for that person that's sitting there like thinking it's impossible, and I remember feeling that way, like not that it was impossible, like I was going to keep going till I got one, but it's a weird place to be in. It's like I haven't gotten a sale. Where's it going to come from? And in real estate investing, it's always comes from someone else. And I feel like, I haven't thought about this a lot, but I feel like it's the same thing with real estate sales. You need to like leverage relationships that when you're either calling someone or sending out mailers and stuff. So when I joined a team, I started getting deals, and I learned how to get deals. Then therefore I believed it was true. So then I could go out and get my own deals. What do you say to that agent that's just thinking about getting started?
I look at real estate as realtor, right? You're basically a Sherpa, right? You're guiding the person on the path to the real estate goal, right? People don't know what they don't know, right? So you have to try to find people that just had or are going to have a major life event, because usually real estate happens when a life event happens, right? So know that they have something coming up, and they're probably going to be looking for real estate, and now you're going to walk them through how they can get their real estate dream to become a reality, right? So if you're competing with them when they know they're looking for something, you're going to compete with multiple different realtors. But if you earn their trust, win them over before they actually get to that point that they know they need real estate, it's just going to be you and them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Ricky Caruth, he's on our team, and he actually was doing a talk the other day, and some lady stood up and said, well, NAR said that they usually call 2 to 3 listing agents before they choose one. And because she was saying like he was wrong basically, and he was like, well, the 2 to 3 they call is probably going to be the friend that they already know, right? As long as that friend is staying active. And it made so much sense to me. I was like, if you're staying in contact with the people before they need an agent, and they can see that you're professional because you're putting it out there on social and you're emailing them and mailing them for Christmas, like they're going to call you. Chances are they're going to call you. So,
well, it's something for especially newer agents is remind them that not everyone at your brokerage is on your team. That's something that took me a little while to learn. And I always tell people, I go, hey, the brokerage is like the garage. I'm like the car, and you want to get basically from point A to point B. You want a good car to get you there.
Yes, that is so good. Yeah, there's so many smiling faces, but it doesn't mean they're out there to help you. Usually, you're going to be the only one that helps your bank account grow. That is so true. So, kind of the key element here is a relationships. One of the Instagram folks, how do you actually build relationships, and maybe how does that relate to team? Do you follow up with your team and ask them like, "Hey, how's it going with Julie? How's it going with Bob?" Is that something you do?
Yeah, so we always go over their top 5. Who are the 5 people that if they had to get something in their contract today, that they would be reaching out to, right?
Oh.
So they always have their top 5 and what they could do today to get them under contract tomorrow.
That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of a goal that I had to write an offer every single day. I said, I don't care if it's the worst offer, because a lot of times we're like, I don't even want to bother writing the offer. But the reality is you start doing that, the action creates traction and stuff starts happening. And, for a while there, I had on our team, we had an investment offer guy, and all he did was write offers at 70% on all the deals that were on the MLS. And out of 1,000 deals, I think only 2 of them bit. They're like, "Hey, come look at the property first. You got to look at it first." So we came out and looked at it, and you definitely get some deals from it. You just gotta, put in the work. Put in the work. So the next question here is listing versus buyers. A lot of people like to argue, like, depending on what they're working. So what's your opinion? What's your take?
So I would say, well, in this market, it's really swayed in San Diego. So you want to get listings, right? Listings are going to be key. Yet something that I actually had to talk about yesterday with some people is with buyers, right? If you get them under contract and you stay in contact with them, you're basically setting up your future self for possible listings, right?
Yeah.
If for sellers, if they're moving out of area, they're going to be easier to get sold. Yet you're probably not going to get anything out of them down the road.
I
Right.
love that.
So I would
Yeah.
lean towards listings, yet be aware those buyers could be paid dividends down the road.
They become listings. Yeah. If you follow up. So I actually know a guy who's a big YouTuber, and I'd like to say it's me, but not yet. He's really crushing it. And I just kind of labeled him as a buyer's agent because everyone who's moving into Orlando, they see his channel. He's really good at that. And he says, he goes on all these shows and stuff, and he's like, I get about half listings and half buyers. I'm like, how is that? And this is when I first started, right? I worked in the same office as him at KW. And after looking at it, it makes a lot of sense. These guys come in, they're buyers, and 5 years later, 8 years later, they want to upgrade. Another 8 years, 5 years is 8 years. Now they want to downgrade because the kids are moving out, right? This is real estate, right? And so when they talk about your database, that's the one thing I didn't know when I started. See, I thought it was all transactional. You just got to get out there, get the listings right. But it's not. It's very relationship based. And I guess you can treat it transactionally, build a team, let them build their relationships, right? I guess there's something to be said about that. But at the end of the day, relationships have to be made. Otherwise, people aren't going to trust you with their greatest asset. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I definitely. I mean, people want to know they can trust you before they do business with you. Right. So it's building those relationships. And every time you talk to someone, try to add some sort of value to their world.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I know some people are like, did you turn off the faucet, the sprinklers, and I'm like, okay, there's definitely some good stuff you can do there. Like in Michigan, one of my friends up there, Brandon, he's like, yeah, we tell them, they got to get their heaters cleaned out or whatever. I'm like, I'm in Florida, man. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. They're on and off all year long. So good stuff. All right. So kind of we're wrapping up here the Instagram one. So cold call versus mailers.
I would say cold call in a heartbeat. Mailers, I mean, the cost per mailer compared to cold calling is, I think it's going to be a lot more beneficial. I mean, you're talking about probably for, I don't know, based off the call to action that you have. I mean, maybe like one call out of 100, one out of 150 or something like that. I mean, the numbers aren't really the greatest. While cold calling, probably every 10 calls or 10 contacts, you're probably going to have one in-depth conversation with that person, and it might be something to add to your follow-up in the future. Yeah. So, I would go hands down cold calling. Unless you have money to throw out there, then mailers can be fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. So I love that transition, right? Because what happens is when you first start out is like you don't have money, or maybe you have money, but you shouldn't spend it on it. Like that
Yeah.
was my commitment, is like I'm not spending any money on real estate. Is like I'm gonna make its thing. And that's how it's worked out. And it's taken some time, but it's good because you really learn the way other people have to deal with it. The biggest thing is like being able to pay your own bills while you learn real estate and while you build relationships. And so you cold call because you have more time than money. And then once you have a lot of money, right, you don't want to cold call, you could leverage it by sending out mailers. But I will say that this works much better with investing,
Yeah.
because investors, especially with like probate situations, they don't want you to call them and be like, by the way, your grandma just died and I would like to buy your house at 50%. That doesn't go over very well. But if you send them a mailer, it gives them time to think about it, and it gives them time to kind of get to know who you are and stuff like that. And so when the time comes that they're super motivated, they'll give you a call. And it's very similar.
Your margins are better too, right? As an investor, right?
Yeah.
You do one deal, walk away with $50,000 in profit. Compared to a realtor that's maybe walking away with like 10,000, 12,000. And so if for the 50,000 right there, if you spend $5,000 on mailers to get that one solid deal.
Yep. That's exactly. Yeah. So I'll send out ballpoint marketing. I'll do them, and that, it'll be a $2,000 to get one deal. It's usually how it works. But that's about 100 people, that are like, yeah, maybe, and we've had a couple where it doesn't turn into anything, so but yeah, you definitely got to be strategic, and it's a money pit. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that. You have a cold call versus mailers. Definitely do your research on the different things you can use, but good stuff. Okay, one of the last ones here: open house versus networking events for building contacts.
Oh man, I would say it's been a long time of more. I would lean more towards open houses. I really can't stand, for the most part of the past, I couldn't stand networking events because I couldn't stand a lot of realtors. Because if you're new in the business,
yeah,
I'm going to tell every single agent out there, don't believe everything you see on social media. Most of those agents don't do what they're saying they're doing. And so that was the thing that turned me away, but I've made progress on it. I'm incorporating more networking events to my schedule this last year or so. So now I'd probably say, 50-50, but for the longest time it was like 90-95 open houses and like 5% like networking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. The funny thing is, one of the things I learned on a team that still sticks with me today was that I was doing all kinds of stuff, right? I was investments and everything but cold calling. I didn't want to pick up the phone. And this guy, my team leader, he's like, did you make any calls? It was always, did you make any calls? Because that was the thing that was going to move the needle forward. But here, me being an analytical and an introvert, I'm like building spreadsheets and analytical stuff. Like, what is it? Reverse amortizations. And because I was like, I'm going to get the investors, which I have done investors, and that is my niche. But if I would have started cold calling investors, maybe, or cold calling absentee owners, and then on top of that saying, hey, I got this cool sheet I want to send you. You don't have to list with me, but I'm building a networking group for investors. That's what I should have done, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And one of the things he said was, Mike, it doesn't matter what you do. Everything works. You just have to do it. You have to do something. And if you could do it at scale, then you'll start to see results sooner. Like cold calling, if you can call 100 people a day, make 10 contacts like you were saying, you're going to have a more chance that that's going to eventually turn into something. Just like mailers, you can't send out 100 mailers and expect to get a listing. You got to send 10,000 mailers.
Well, there's a guy in, I forget where he's located, but I was watching one of his videos about the golden letter. And so he says that on his golden letter, for every 500 letters that he sends out, he'll get one listing. So his margins are I don't know. It's something I'm working on his model to see if it actually works. Yeah. But
you know, 500, that's worth it. 500, you could do that with one. Every closing, you could just say, look, every closing I get, I'm doing 500 letters. You could do that, And the golden letter sounds pretty cool. Like
it sounds good, right?
A shiny gold envelope, I imagine, and you tear it open and it's got like a piece of chocolate in there, so it's bumpy, you know, maybe not chocolate because it could melt, but yeah, something like that. Just get people to open it and then they read it and they're like, hey, you know, I give the gold service, you know, the key to the the key to the gold service is come by our office at whatever street, and this key will open the door to the greatest service you can receive, or something like that. And then, you know, people are like, okay. You know, branding is everything when it comes to that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So the very last Instagram comparison I put up was co-list versus referral. And just to kind of preface, like I get a lot of listings in other areas from cold calling. We have a team of cold callers now because, again, I still don't enjoy cold calling. So I have virtual assistants that help me. But we get listings all over. And sometimes it's like, do I refer this out and then I have to try to follow up and see what they're doing with the listing? Or is it better just to always co-list? What is your opinion?
I mean, it matters in the location. I mean, if I don't know the market, it's hard for me to co-list it. If I know the market and I feel comfortable in the market, then I would co-list it. I would probably send out the referral, especially if I knew the trusted source. I mean, with that idea, I mean, you're building relationships with that agent.
Yep.
So I would lean the referral route. I mean, because it's if you can keep those referral agents accountable and just relax and enjoy that referral check when it comes in, not a bad way to live.
Referral checks are sweet. They are nice. Where it's like, we had a closing, you know, it's like, yeah. Just like, especially when it's like, you know, 5-10 grand, you're like, I got to go somewhere fun for this. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. So we're kind of wrapping things up. What is the greatest advice you have ever received?
Fail forward. Basically it's not failure if you learn something from it. I think that was something when I was able to pick that up. It kind of allowed me to look at things differently. Right. And I mean, the second thing to that would be systems. Right. So if I remember someone talking about this once, is just between a good agent and a great agent is a good agent focuses on basically the transaction and make sure the transaction is going well. The great agent basically sees that there's something going on with that transaction and fix the system. So if something goes wrong in your transaction, look at that and go, how can I fix my system to make sure that doesn't happen in the future?
Yes. I love that. Yeah. Having well, first of all, too, I don't know if you'd agree, but like it comes from a place of responsibility. Like you know that you're not perfect. You know that your team's not perfect. So if you have systems in place, you can get as close as possible to a perfect real estate experience. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, we're all gonna make mistakes. I mean, to think you're not gonna make mistakes, you're probably not doing any kind of business or doing anything right. Everyone makes mistakes. It's the idea is to work towards basically perfection. Now we probably won't get there, yet working towards it is going to get us a lot farther along and a lot smoother of the process.
That's good. That's good. So what advice do you have for somebody just getting started right now? I know we kind of talked a little bit about this, but you know, what's your like, you know, someone joins your team, what do you tell them?
I would say be open to the conversation, right? Be open to the conversation. I think the tough part for most realtors is they sometimes are afraid to talk to their database, talk to the people that they know that trust them.
Yeah.
Right. They think, well, I'm new to the system. I'm new to the business. Basically, no one's going to want to work with me. Yet, if you have a team, if you have a support system in your corner, right, and you're going to do right by that person, they're going to be better served working with you than someone that could care less about them or possibly screw them over.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so powerful. That is good. Yeah, listen, you go out there, build relationships. This is a relationship business, and you know, I think you said it perfectly. So, listen, this is our last question, and this is one of those questions that people get tripped up on. But I know you're going to bring the heat. Okay. What would you do if you had accomplished all your financial goals today and money was no object? what would you do to make the biggest, most mighty impact on the world?
I think give back in and helping people start their career. I think education, right? Giving back to people. And because there's so many people out there that just glide through life, right? And before they know it, it's like, okay, it's been 10 years and 5 years and 20 years, right? So allowing the ability for people to get to that next stage in life, and not like a kind of a salesperson, being a coach, being anything like that, but really kind of like saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to donate my time to give honest feedback, honest thought, and not sell you anything.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah. A lot of people are out there trying to find out what the next step is. Like, and what you were saying about agents and not sure like what to do and where to go. And so I think a lot of it has to do with them just not knowing who they are, And so when we learn about ourselves,
or not knowing who to trust.
Yeah.
You go on social media right now and if you put in real estate guru, you're going to probably find 1,000 people telling you this is what you should be doing, this is what you should be doing. And it can be overwhelming. So many shiny objects. And you got to think that one transaction for a realtor, you're going to be walking away with a decent chunk in your pocket. You don't think there's a lot of people out there that want to get a piece of that pie?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I asked a guy one time, I said, what's the fastest way to make $1 million in real estate? And he said, you need to find something to sell to realtors.
Totally agree.
It's true. It's true. And what's crazy is it's kind of a double-edged sword, because realtors, we get paid in a pretty fine fashion, right? We don't get paid for a long time. And then when we do get paid on a transaction, it's like $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, sometimes $15,000. So could you give away $3,000 or $2,000 for a coaching program? Yes, usually yes. And so that's why it works so well for coaches and stuff like that. For me in particular, I enjoy helping and giving. That's why I love YouTube, because literally I have learned so much on YouTube just from agents that were just trying to do stuff like Ricky. That's how I came into contact with Ricky Caruth, is he was just like sharing, hey, just build relationships, call people. And it's super powerful. I think that's a great thing. I haven't heard that one yet. I've heard solve world hunger. I've heard vaccinations. I've heard a lot of stuff. I have not heard that. That's good stuff. All right. Well, you've just been dropping crazy value. What is the best way that we can connect with you, keep up with everything you have going on, and then we can say goodbye?
You can go to my website, www.theenriquezgroup.com, or even if you want to just give me a call, I'm always open. 858-345-7829. I think most people, if they're honest to who they are willing to give back their time to another person if that other person truly wants to help and is going to do something with it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, man. I've seen that, and I'm excited. I'm going to actually come to San Diego. I'm going to be there soon, and I'll have to knock on your door over there.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, Bigger Pockets is over there October 2nd, I think, at the beginning of October this year. And I just love San Diego. Are you anywhere near the beach?
No, I'm in Bonita.
Oh, so okay.
A little bit. Everything's relative, I guess, to the beach. Probably about 20 minutes away, 15 minutes away.
Good stuff, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. I want to personally thank you for coming on. I've been impressed with everything you have going on. You're just killing it. And I'm excited to share it with the world.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, man. Let's see those guns. Ooh, dwarfing me. All right. So until next time, Mighty Nation, go check out the website there, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Listen, putting out this content for free. We're not selling it for $1,000. We're actually giving this for free before all of our financial goals have been met. We're sharing this stuff for free. So go out there and build your network so you can build a mighty net worth. Go flex those inspiration muscles and make some phone calls, send some mailers, go knock on some doors, do some open houses. The sky is the limit. And if you're not an agent, you're an investor, I hope you guys enjoyed this little dive into the real estate agent experience. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much. I appreciate you, partner. See you guys next time. If you want more of the tips, tools, and tactics to take your real estate investing to the next level, go get a free copy of my latest book at mightyfreebook.com. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite audio platform.